So today we're doing a little bit of a combination video. This is a public service announcement and kind of a heads up. Had a little incident a couple days ago, test driving a car, out going through its paces. I happened to glance in the mirror to check, and I see this large rolling ball of flame come out of the back of the car. So I turned to the sales associate that was with me and I said, I believe the car's on fire, very calmly, and looked down, shut the switch off, coasted for a little while, didn't really see any flames, got out, and there was a very small flame on the header, and we got that put out. Not a really big fire, but when you look out the back and there's like a 15-foot ball of flame, you're concerned. So when we got back to the shop, towed it back to the shop, we found that one of the oil lines had literally popped right off. It's an aftermarket oil line. It looks like the installation of the crimp was really bad, and it literally just popped off and pumped the oil right out on the header. Fortunately, there was absolutely no damage. The fire was just a rolling flame out the back, and the little bit of a fire here was really nothing. So we're going to put new oil lines on it, but it's two things. Number one, you should be aware of aftermarket oil lines and make sure that the crimp is right. On the one, if you can show, I'll show, when we get it off, I'll show you. You notice how this is actually really straight as it's crimped on. The other one I did notice, the line comes out crooked. It's not actually on the fitting good. So that's a good indication that it just wasn't assembled right. So that's one of the things you can look at. I'm not sure that you can see everything that would cause one of these to be done improperly, but that's a good indication that that one over there was done improperly. And number two, probably should take a fire extinguisher with you when you're test driving things that you don't know about it. We don't really know a lot about this car. We didn't know it had aftermarket lines on it. So two things: look at your aftermarket lines and take a fire extinguisher with you, because it could save your day. Fortunately, we had one, no damage on this car, and we're just gonna put new lines on it. A good indication that the line may not be assembled properly. You notice how it doesn't evenly fit into the fitting off to the side, so it's not seated fully into the fitting. That's a really good indication that that's probably not done well, and I'm sure this one was very much like that. You can see where there wasn't a lot of bend here, but there was a lot of grip there, so I'm sure it was just curved in there and it literally just popped out under pressure. This is a pressure line. It has 60-70 pounds of oil pressure when you're really running it, and it was going pretty good when it blew. Clearly, that is done wrong. That line is ready to come apart right there. Same with that end. Whoever did this just really did a poor job of assembly. So we'll throw some new lines on it, get it back together, put some oil in it, go drive it again. Here's another little helpful fact for you. copper washers. They're all over Ferraris. They are literally one-time use. You put it on there and you tighten it up and you go, oh, I need to move that. And you loosen it up, tighten it up again, it's probably gonna leak. They get hardened with their first use, and so yeah, anytime you pull a copper washer off, change it. I've had cars come in that have copper washers on the drain plug and they're just leaking because nobody changed the copper washer, they just reused it. So copper washers, one-time use. So a little recap here. Had an oil line blow off on this one. Aftermarket oil line. You want to make sure the oil lines are assembled properly. That one's clearly crooked. That's going to come out just like the other end of the other line did. You can see there's actually a little wear mark on there where it was seated and it's pushing out. They might have actually used the wrong size hose on this one, I'm not really sure, but for whatever reason, when they're crooked like that, you're coming up on a failure. So on the test drive, when it blew out, it did create quite a little bit of an oil leak and a little rolling flame. So fire extinguisher took care of that. Make sure you have a fire extinguisher with you when you do repairs and you take your car for a test drive. We didn't actually repair this one. We have now, but we didn't do the repair originally. And during the repair, putting the banjo bolts on, replacing the copper washers, you always want to use a new copper washer because it's definitely going to leak. Copper gets work hardened, so every time you use it, it gets hard, and the soft copper has to create the seal. So once it's used, it's done. So fire extinguisher, check your oil lines. If they're not straight, they're likely to fail, and a new copper washer. Good to go.